it's important to see you're doing quite hard work, right? It's business coaching. The plan that you've put in place to grow your business, there's a lot of work and effort involved, isn't there? And there's probably quite a lot of work and effort involved before you get to see beautiful results, right? And if you're anything like me, and I know that you all are, you're quite hard on yourselves, and your focus is quite firmly forward. So you don't spend a lot of time going, "Oh, look how well we've done." You spend most of your time going, "Fuck, all this stuff to do," right? So I'm going to make you do that. I'm going to make you look back now at what you have achieved, partly because it's good, just nice, and partly because that reinforces that you should keep doing the work, which is why you're here, right? You're here to do the work, to learn what to do and do it, and improve your business. So it's necessary, I think, to realize that it does have an effect. So I want you to look back on what you've achieved, what's your best wins for the last year, right? You can do the last year or you can do the last few months, but wins in terms of your business and 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 your improvement of it. I would like to say to do with the coaching, but don't restrict yourselves to that. If you've done something good and you've achieved something or you've improved something, put it down and recognize your achievement. Okay. So we do get buried. You need to acknowledge that the stuff you're doing works. A lot of our conversation is about keeping you on the straight and narrow or dragging you back to the straight and narrow. Fair? So you're writing a win. I'm going to make you volunteer them in a minute, obviously. Everybody online had a few wins you can notice? You want to share? Shall I give you a bit more time?
I think for me, John, like reliable systems, that's something I have noticed a lot over the last 6 months with being a bit short-staffed, having outsourced out like the bookkeeping and with first-class accounts helping us out, sort of always having that side of things looked after and sorted. And when things get a bit much, all of that systematization in that side of the business for us at the moment has been, sort of really come into its own, I suppose. Took a little while to get that set up, but that's something that just you sometimes forget about those small things in the background because they're working and you don't appreciate as much. I think sometimes when you forget about when you didn't have that and that you were doing all that yourself. So that was
now
one.
you've built a business, right, that works. I think this is the thing that we must realize is what happens, what Isaac says, as you do these and you invest in these systems, it becomes a business and not just your work, much more so. Yeah, well done, Isaac. Thanks for that. Anybody else? Adam.
Implementing that side of Tradify for me has been a massive win this year. I was just everything was written down on paper in files and folders, and never really knew where I was at. And now, timesheets for the guys and materials on jobs and stuff. It's just been brilliant. Yeah.
And something like Tradify, I always think it takes a long time before you see the benefit. You really have to commit, don't you, really? And sort of put your faith in it. And then it's hard for quite a long time. And then you go, oh, that's better. Well done, mate. Thank you. Anybody else go on to share?
Mine was pretty similar to Isaac's, really. I think I haven't really appreciated what first class accounts have done for me in the last couple of years, to be honest. And just lately, I think, because it's just been a pretty hectic start to the year, I was just looking at a few things last night and I think, shit, like they've actually done that all for me. And it's just one less thing I've had to worry about, which has been really good. But another win for me, again, similar to Isaac, I think just having these processes in place that we sort of developed early on, John, has been massive, because I think a couple of the guys were a little bit skeptical about it to start with, but after doing this one fairly large project we're doing at Lavender Bay at the moment, one of the boys who's running it for me was like, "Oh, this job's been the smoothest job ever." I was just like, yeah, well, fuck, I wonder why. You've actually done everything that you should have and used the processes properly. So that was a nice little reminder.
That's cool. Yeah, really. Anybody else? Is this good? Ben, you made eye contact, mate. I'm going to pick on you.
Oh, sorry.
You're a bit lost. Oh, right. Okay. Sorry, mate. Oh, I won't pick on you then. All right, look, there's another purpose for this, right? I want you to re-engage with your plan. I want you to re-look at the strategy. So have you all got it to hand? Has anyone looked at their strategy since we wrote it? No? Adam's nodding. Adam, you can have a star. Yeah, look, I look at mine from time to time. I want to encourage you to, right, to look at your strategy. That's a document you and I wrote together that, one has a vision statement, which is what you want for your business and from your business, and the plan of how you're going to get there. So you should be looking at it from time to time and trying to make sure you do all the things in there, because you should be confident that if you do the things in there, you're going to get what you want, right? So you should reacquaint yourself with it from time to time, and you should be thinking, how am I going to make sure I do some of that stuff? So you're going to do a few wins, right? You might have a win related to money. Have you made more money? You might have a win related to stress. How you feel you're more in control. Are you getting back? You're having to work a bit less hard. Your margin's better. Is your confidence a bit better? Think these things, right? Take the small wins, because you will all go, oh, I'm doing a shit job. Everything much to do. You'll, won't you? Because what about your clarity? What about marketing? Has marketing got better? Are you getting more inquiries or more decent leads or better leads? What about sales? Is that flowing better? I know, Adam, you put your display kit together. Do you feel better? Do you feel more confident and more on your game when you do that?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the first of.
I think that's a huge win, right?
Yeah,
I think you should be really pleased with it.
Put that down, but
yeah. You put a lot of effort in. You told me it took you ages.
Yeah,
and now you're there, ready, right? In a whole different league to what you were in before in terms of your professionalism and how you present. Like, remember these things, right? Are you better at the sales part now? Are you better at quoting? Is your quoting system any better than it used to be? What about your proposal documents? Who's got a sexed up proposal document? Steve and Brody, you both did, didn't you? You should be paid. That's a win, right? Having built those things. Okay, your pricing, your estimating, maybe. What about on-site? What about when jobs go better? Do things work a bit better? Job management system, that's a win, isn't it? If you've implemented that, if it saves you any time. Are you any better? Is anyone better at managing variations than they were? Is anyone more on top of that? Right, that's a huge win, isn't it? Imagine all the money you wasted when you didn't do that very well. What about the back office? Have you improved that? Does that flow better? Have you offloaded some of the work to somebody else? Have you got a better handle on your numbers? Have you managed cash flow a bit better? Toby, you said you'd start doing that more. That's a win, I reckon. Your top things. What about you? Do you feel any better? Who's feeling confident than they did a few months ago? You could be more confident in sales, can you? You could be more confident in your pricing. You could be more confident. Who lacks confidence in their pricing? Who mostly thinks I'm probably too expensive? Everyone's going to tell me I'm a thieving arsehole. I should charge less. Come on, put your hands up. We all feel like that, don't we? Right? So it's a thing, right? It's a thing we need to work on. Who's got a bit more time? Who's a bit less stressed? Anybody? Yeah, right. You've never been stressed, mate. No. Once or twice, Matt's missed appointments with me, meetings, and I've called him up and he goes, "Oh, sorry, John, I'm going diving." And he's off on a boat. He's knocked off early and blown me off. Team. Who feels the team's better? Yeah. Who runs a good team? Do you think your team's going all right? That's important, isn't it? All right. So have a look at your triangle. Sorry. Have a look at your strategy. Have you ticked anything off in your strategy that you've achieved and completed? Is there anything in your strategy that you part completed? Now I'm going to draw the triangle. That's why I got distracted by the triangle. Do you remember the triangle? Anybody online remember the triangle? Some of you will. This is why I'm going to draw it, right? To remind you. I know, Emily. Okay. How good's this? Can everyone see? Great. So this is the triangle model, right? I'm going to remind you of the framework that we use because of everything I'm going to talk about relates to this framework. So the more you're familiar with it and the more you internalize it, I think the more sense things will make. And I'm very aware, I've been thinking in this way for nearly 20 years. And for you guys, a lot of it's new. And I'm like, this. And you're probably going, what the fuck's he talking about? So I'm going to try and remember, right? Try and remind you and refresh you. I understand that a lot of learning, as adult learning, when we learn, repeating things and doing them again is really useful for us. So I'm going to repeat it. So this is you, right? You've got a happy, successful business with loads of money and you're not working too hard. I do a clock, right? You need to get the work in. You need to get the work done. And you need to look after your people. Okay. More than many other businesses, your businesses, trade businesses, are people businesses, aren't they? You're only going to grow by having more people out there with Toolbox on in the world doing work. So you need to look after them. And if you don't look after them properly, I think you'll be disappointed. You won't get the outcomes you want, the performance you want. So let's start from the beginning, right? To get work in, we've got to find it. You've got to build a marketing machine. So while we're looking back at your wins, have you had any marketing related wins? Has anything gone better? Or have you done anything or achieved anything in relation to getting work lately? I'm going to talk about what the machines look like in a minute, right? Once you've found it, once an inquiry's come in, you've got to win it, haven't you? You've got to build a sales machine. Once you've won it, you've got to do it. And you've got to build an operations machine. And once it's done, you've got to get paid. And you need to build a back office machine. Okay. And I say machine for all of them, partly because I couldn't think of any other good words, and partly because I like that sense of a machine that you put fuel in and you turn it on and it goes, right? Because for a lot of you, for a lot of us even, when we started and when we're earlier in our business, they're not machines. We only get marketing if we pick the phone up and go and see people, or kind of with thinking it from scratch all the time. But once you build a machine, it goes, right? Once you build a sales machine, you know what happens. There's a process you take people through when they inquire, and you clear what it is, and you've got your systems in place. So the machine's a good way of thinking about it. And the people is you and your team. So for you, we're shifting how you operate your business, aren't we, a bit? We're shifting you from being in the guts of it, working on the tools, or in the guts of it, kind of intimately involved with the day-to-day stuff, to being much more focused on building the systems and finding and winning work for other people to do, which is quite a mental shift, isn't it? Hands up, who feels guilty when you're not on the tools? Yeah, everybody. Toby doesn't, but a lot of other people do, right? And I speak to a lot of people who, if they're not on the tools, they think, they're bludgeon. So we're going to shift you, right? We're going to shift you from being tradies to being business people and business owners, business managers. And part of that means looking after your team. You know, you've got to hire good ones. You've got to who's hired like this in the past? You seem great. Crack on. I'm quite busy. Leave me alone. And then wonder why it doesn't go so well, right? Who's done that? Everybody. Yeah. So we're going to make you hire with process. You're going to lead people properly. You're going to manage people properly, and you're going to set a great culture so they stay as well. Was that helpful? That little refresh? Okay. So, next question on our momentum snapshot. What's going well in your business at the moment? And it can be something in the machines. It can be one of your machines. It can be that your team's going well, or culture's good, or there's plenty of money, or there's plenty of work coming in. You've booked out for a while. It's going something in the roadmap is going well. If you want to look at that, it's going well, right? And this is for you to recognize and acknowledge. You might have squeezed that. You said systems, so you right systems in there. You know the systems are working. Like you could be rolling in money. Maybe might be happening. Have you all written something down? I'm not. I will. You can share if you like. This next one, I've only put 2 spaces in, but everyone finds this bit much easier to find things. What's not going so well? What's something you might want to fix? Money, cash flow, margins, morale. I don't know, not having enough sales, not being in control of your jobs, running around like a headless chicken. Do you want to get more organized? Want to volunteer something? Who's got some? We all suffer from the same problems, really. Do we? Sorry. Anybody else? Shall I stop waving my hand in front of the camera?
Paul from New Zealand here. So yeah, just something that's not going well because we outsource our build to labor only builders. So quite often we're having to spend a lot of time spend a lot of time just watching the quality of their build, I guess, which is natural, but some of our builders are better than others. So just working through a system to get better on that.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Anybody else want to volunteer something? Oh.
Yeah, I think my main one was I've just started, like I'm from Melbourne originally and I've moved up to the Gold Coast and all my work started just through like friends and people I know. So when it came to payment, I was pretty relaxed. And then now I'm starting to grow the fact of like, I'm still basically working for people that I know through people. And it's just sort of getting like the deposits and like the payment terms. Like there's been a few times where I've just sort of been a bit laxed with it, just thinking that they're friends, where it's like, I need to be going, no, it's a business.
I think more so with friends, you need to do that, I think.
Yeah. And I think that's sort of it. Like as I'm growing as well, my friends still think like, oh, I'm just a mate that's a chippy sort of thing, where it's like, no, I've got a business now and I've got overheads.
Yeah.
But yeah, like one of my most recent jobs, like the client took two months to pay because I didn't even get a deposit from him. I just did it because I knew him, met him, good guy, and then next minute I'm out 40K for 3 months. So
yeah, and you've paid people, right?
Exactly, and I made bugger all money off the job. It was like I made like 10 grand off that. Other 30 was materials and other trades. So floating that cash definitely hurt the business as well.
Yeah.
It was getting pretty low for a bit. So
yeah,
I think that's just definitely something I need to work on personally.
It's a huge lesson, isn't it?
Yeah, especially going from like just being a carpenter to then out there and trying to run a business.
Yeah. Yeah, good one. Thanks for the share. Anybody else? We don't all have to have one. I'm not going to make you all fess up to something that's not going
I'll
forward.
second that. I think I need to be more strict on my quote acceptance forms as well, and I've still got terms and conditions and stuff, but as you said, I've been pretty relaxed about that kind of stuff as well. And I don't know, I just try and see the best in everyone. But yeah, as you know, John, like I was just talking to you at the end of last year about that debt that I've now trying to collect from that builder. Yeah, it's put me in a pretty shit situation. Not going to kill me, but it's not good to
It's not
carry.
nice though, is it? Missing out on
No,
money.
it's not good to carry 40, 50 grand for 3, 4, 5 months, like just for the sake of it. So yeah, not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose
John,
I'm the
I
same,
guess
Michael.
something that stands out for me there is that you need to lock in your terms and conditions and have that structure in place. And even if you blame, John as a business coach, you say, "Oh, my business coach says that I've got to do it this way, and here's the terms and conditions, and here's the payment plan, and this is what's got to happen," until you get more confidence that you can deliver it yourself. You can blame your accountant, blame John, blame me, whatever. But you've got to have that process in place. And if you've got it put together in a professional looking document of terms and conditions, then it creates a professional image for your business and helps you transition from, what you were saying when you initially started to now, hey, listen, I'm a full-blown business and I need to deal with my customers professionally. Yeah.
Thanks, David. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of power in having something written, so it's written. These are the rules. I wrote them down. Look, here they are. You can be a lot braver than if you haven't got that done. And it's a weird little psychological thing because it's meaningless bullshit, really, isn't it? That I wrote them down, but you are stronger if you do that. Now, somebody was online. Was it Brody?
Yeah, it was me. I was sort of the same, but I guess I had a contract. It was a new build. I had a contract in place. He was signing all the variations and all that sort of stuff. And I guess since September, it was sort of mid-October that we finished the job. I sort of had to do the calculations because most of his funding was coming from a bank. And then I said, "Oh, okay, we need to pay these variations now." He's like, "Oh, look, mate, it wasn't much compared to the whole build. Like, might have been like 16K at the time, but then they just started banking up, variation after variation, and still now." I did the calculations, and it meant that if I finished the build, I would have been better off finishing the build, and not collecting the variation, finish the build and don't stop work, because then I would have collected all the money from the banks, rather than stopping work and then holding off. I would have been more out of pocket, and I suppose still now it's about 60 grand out since middle of October last year, which I'm hoping by the end of this month that he's sold a property that he can then pay his debts.
Yeah.
Which is not fun, but
Who's written off for bad debt before? Everybody? Yeah, me too. It hurts, doesn't it? You thought you had that money in the bank, and you thought it was coming. All right. Thanks, everybody. Last one for this session. What do you want for the next 3, 6, 12 months? I've put a revenue and a profit goal in there. So in your vision, in your strategy, we put a 3-year goal, didn't we? How big do you want to be in 3 years when you've done all this work? So let's set one for the next little bit, right? What's your revenue now? And where do you want to be next time we meet in Byron Bay in June or May? What's realistic? An extra 5K a month, an extra 10, an extra 50? It'd be nice, wouldn't it? So I've done a revenue and profit space, but I've got 4 more spaces. So what else do you want? What else do you want to achieve in the next little while? It could be one of the jobs in your strategy. You could go, I really want to achieve that, or really want to do that job. It could be you want to achieve, I don't know, working only 4 days a week. Or you want to achieve booking a holiday, feeling like you can. Or you want to achieve, something else, having better margins, or getting a bookkeeper in, or getting a VA in, or not working nights all the time. Could be winning a big job. You've got some big jobs. Then it might be ditching your shit customer. That's a bit of a goal for you, isn't it, really? Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to park that there for now. Anybody want to share any goals for the next 3 months? Tom, have you got any? No. I should let you off the hook a bit, shouldn't I, today?
Yeah.
What was yours? Time. Yeah, look, and there's a funny. I'm going to jump in on that one, right? Because there's a funny thing about time. You can attack it from both ends, can't you? You can go, oh, I need to make more time by, hiring more admin people, or getting more tradies on, and getting someone else to do some of the work. Or you can just go, fuck it, I'm stopping at 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock. I'm going to stop work. That's what I do. 5:31 rolls by, and I'm like, this fucking hate work.
4 o'clock.
Right, exactly.
And then that contract situation came up last week, I was telling you about, and now it's like every day, 5 to 6 o'clock, still sending emails.
Yeah.
It's
Can you
easy,
stop it
easy to
now?
lose that little rhythm too.
Yeah. It's not fun, is it?
No, it's not. And then, the wife gets up here as well.
Yeah. Well, you're not present, are you? You're not helping. You're not present at home. All right. Well, we'll talk about that, but do consider putting boundaries around work. Okay. So this afternoon, we're going to come back and decide your next jobs, your next things, your next priorities, right? So now I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking about how to use the program. It's one of my themes, isn't it? Nagging you about how to use the program properly. I may have a slide for this. What? Sorry, thanks, Sam. Okay, I don't have a slide for this. So let me go back to that. My main objective in this short conversation is to beat the enemy, your main enemy, of just going back into the thick of it and not doing any of the jobs in your strategy, right? The jobs in your plan are what's going to give you the business you want. If you do them, and you're going to be chipping away at them, right? They're quite hefty jobs. How long did it take you to do your packs? 3 months, was it? It was a long time, wasn't it? Yeah, right. So a lot of these jobs are big. Yeah, yeah. A lot of these jobs are big jobs. Took us. We've been planning this for 6 weeks. Writing the materials, getting the printing done. Stuff takes time, right? If you're going to achieve anything meaningful, you're not going to knock it off in 5 minutes, are you? So all the stuff is fairly hard work, and all the stuff is very deferrable, isn't it? Right? Your life is full of urgent shit, isn't it? That man ringing Damien every 5 minutes in the evening, wanting time. He's urgent. You need to deal with him, or bad things will happen tomorrow, right? So your life is full of all those. All this stuff is deferrable, but if you never do it, 2 years down the track, you're going, "No, I never did that," and I'm still here. I'm still stuck where I am. So that's your enemy, right? Your enemy is not doing the stuff, getting dragged back into the day-to-day or the hurly-burly, and then not making the progress you want. Right? I hope that you do your strategy, and you come to the workshops, and you come to the group coaching sessions, and every week you come to the session, you come with a question that helps you move one of your projects further forward, right? You watch the videos, you do the worksheets, you come with a question, and you make some progress every single week. That's what I'd like for you to do. I understand that's harder, right? And maybe one of the things you need to come to the group coaching session with, or to a one-on-one session with me or David with, is I haven't done anything for a week. Kick my ass, or help me figure this out, right? Because that's part of the program, isn't it? managing your time better, and making the time for this. So that's my goal for you, I think. Weekly rhythm. Who feels like they could commit to a weekly rhythm?
So the book is called The One Thing, and it is exactly what John is talking about. It's about picking that thing that will make a difference in your business. And the other one is a book by Brian Tracy, which is called Eat That Frog. And it's a fantastic book too. It's a little bit dated, but if you read through sort of the 80s speak that he's got there, there's some real diamonds of information. And so what he's talking about is that, eating a frog's pretty awful. So you should do that first thing in the morning. The things that we put off, we procrastinate about. We'll do this later in the day, and then it's the next day and you haven't done it, and then you put it off. So what Brian talks about is making sure that you pick that one thing that's going to make the biggest difference in your business on that day and do that first. That's eating the frog, even if it's a bit grotty and slimy and you want to put it off, don't procrastinate. And that's exactly what John's saying, that we can be there to help you with that as well, And sometimes we need a bit of structure around to keep us honest in regards to that, because the ultimate benefit is that your business will grow, your team will be happy, your customers will be ecstatic, all of those sorts of things. I was working with a business recently, and his inquiry response time was 6 months. He would get a customer would send him an inquiry, and it would take him 6 months to get back to the customer. Okay, his business was capped at about $3.5 million, and I wonder why. And it was all mindset. We did a lot of work in mindset, and part of it was bringing a salesperson on board. That business will do $13 million this year in just 3 years. So sometimes you've got to eat the frog first and pick that one thing that's going to make the difference. I'd recommend you just listen to those 2 books because they're really good.
Thanks. I saw a meme not long ago, and it was about eating the frog. It said that this person goes, "My dad told me that, if you had to do something shitty, you should do it first thing in the morning." And then he rang me and wished me a happy birthday at 6:30 in the morning. What a prick. All right. So in part of our countering to, your likelihood of getting dragged back into the day-to-day, we've reintroduced a fortnightly one-on-one, right? Where you're going to have a scheduled fortnightly one-on-one with me or with David. Who didn't know this? You've already got one. Who didn't know this? You all know this, right? So this is partly David and I using the power, the social power, if you like, of a one-on-one scheduled appointment. It's easy to blow off a group coaching call, isn't it? Who's blown off a group coaching call? Who's gone, oh, the group coaching call's in half an hour, I really should go, but I'm quite busy. Come on, you all fucking have. Yeah, everybody has, right? Who hasn't done that, right? But it's a much more difficult thing to blow off a meeting with me or with David, because that's a bit rude, isn't it? Leave it.
And you'll miss 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Done there.
So look, we've done that on purpose, right? Fortnightly, you're going to have a scheduled one-on-one where we're going to be there. We're going to be hanging on the end of the Zoom going, where the fuck are you? You're late. Texting you in, right? It's not absolutely foolproof. I have been left there like that quite recently, not by anybody here. Okay, so that's something we've done. We're trying to keep you a bit more on the straight and narrow by bringing that back in. Okay, we still want you to use the group coaching course. There's still a lot of power in being in the group environment, having other people to bounce off, and the confidence that you get and the bravery you get from knowing that somebody else has done it and talked about it. So I still want you to do those, but we will use the one-on-ones to kind of direct you to videos and direct you to go and do things and give you a bit, if you like, a bit of forced rhythm, a fortnightly rhythm. So this is how to use the program. Set some time once a week to do this work and then stick to it. Who's ever put shit in their calendar but not stuck to it? My partner made me put lunch in my calendar so I would stop and have lunch, which I ignore, obviously. Right, try and do one thing a week, right? Try and do one thing related to your strategy every single week. Obviously, if you've set some time aside, you can do that. It's hard to set time aside, isn't it? And then, because what happens is, something goes wrong, and suddenly you're doing that because you deal with it. But try and do it, right? Try and set time aside. A nice trick is to set time aside early, and don't turn your emails on and don't turn your phone on, and have that time to do the thing. And then turn your phone on and let the shit fight start. So think about doing that. So use the rhythm, right? Do one thing, come to a group call to get help with the one thing, or ask for help to decide what your next thing should be, right? If you don't know what to do. And come with a question. This is a new thing for me. Come with a question to every call, every group call. So I'm going to start by saying, what do you want on the group calls, right? Rather than, hey, what were your wins? And how is everyone going? And did you do your job? I'm going to start saying, what do you want? What do you want from me? And your challenge is to have something that you want, right? Have something you want help with. So my coaches, I've recommitted to my business coaching since November to going every week, every Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock. I'm showing up with a question. That's their rules. You can submit your questions the day before, the night before, whatever, and then you get to go first in the queue. So I can show up and go, this is my question. I'll get attended to, and then I can go because I'm done. And it's quite effective. Makes me think about what I'm going to try and achieve. So I'm doing it. If I can do it with my little ADHD brain, you can do it too, right? Right. One more thing. Do you remember in those questions that Emily sent round? I asked you to rate yourself as your participation in the program. There are a lot of 3s in there. A lot of you rated yourself a very low rating. What do you think you can do to give yourself a slightly higher rating when I ask you this question again in May? You write that down, something you're going to do differently. I want you to write it down. I actually write something down as a commitment to yourself that you're going to do differently. Do kind of understand, that you have limitations. You can't necessarily go and do all of it, everything. But write something down. What are you going to do differently? Make yourself a little commitment of something you're going to do differently to help you get more out of this program or more done. Anybody want to volunteer? Anything you're going to do differently? How about if I pick on Mike Mackay, because he already volunteered, he's going to do something differently this next little period, didn't you, Mike?
I am going to make sure that I do the weekly calls regularly. No, that
Thanks,
needs
Mike.
to change, John.
Thank you, Mike. So we're going to do this. We're going to play with this now. The fish scaling system. Obviously, I'm just having a bit of a laugh with this, but there's a point to it. Okay? You're all here to grow, aren't you? You're all here to grow. So let's measure growth. Okay? So today, obviously, is the first one. If you can remember where you were when you joined the program, note that on here too. So if you joined when you were at 20K a month, when you were a Nemo, we've got 3 stickers for you. And I've written a space for the date. So obviously my idea is you can stick a sticker on with a date and then another sticker with a new date, and hopefully you've gone up a level and you notice, you can mark on this. You can take this home and stick it on the wall or put it somewhere safe and notice that you're making progress, okay? So that's what this is about. Now, growth and improvement can come in a few ways, can't it? You can grow revenue and you can grow profit, and you can measure both of those. You can also grow your happiness or your freedom or your free time and your freedom from stress. They're harder to measure. So right here, we've got revenue, right? But if you notice, you're at a level, if your revenue has been consistently above that number for 3 months running, and your profit is also running at 10% net. Okay, so if you've got loads of revenue, but your net profit's only 5%, you can't have that level. You have to put yourself down a bit, right? Now, there are 2, where's the other side? There's supposed to be 2 sides to this. Right, okay, well, there's a little fuck up from the Dales. There should be 2 of these. There's one for trades. If you see on the screen, there's one for trades and one for builder. The only difference is the number, right? Because for a builder, you can be, you'll be bigger. You'll have a higher number for less requirement for infrastructure and the like. So I'm saying a $300,000 a month trade is the same as a $500,000 a month builder, probably in terms of your profit and your kind of complexity and stuff. We do have another pack. Well done, John. Thank you, Emily, for spotting that one. Hey, Ben. Okay, so we're going to measure your growth. The journey of building a business is quite difficult, not because the work I'm telling you to do is particularly hard, is it? It's a bit scary sometimes, isn't it? A bit daunting. But the work that we talk about in the business coach isn't very difficult, is it? You're not going, fuck, I can't do this. It's impossible. I don't understand it. No one's doing that. No one ever says, Jesus, John, you're so smart. I wish I never would have thought of this without you, right? Everyone always says, yeah, I should be doing that. Yeah. Right. So the stuff's not that difficult. We do have some builder ones. Thanks, Emily. So choose the one that's appropriate for your trade. Okay. Your brain is wired, right? The work is difficult because of you, unfortunately. Your brain's wired, evolutionarily speaking, to prefer things as they are and to not like change. Did you know that? We're a bit averse to change. Change is scary. That's where things can go wrong. Things being the same is safe because we know how bad it is right now, right? So you can be scared to let go. You're much more afraid of how things can go wrong than you are excited by how well they can go. Think about that in yourself. Who's noticed that in themselves? That's an evolutionary thing, right? We're much more influenced by our fear of the thing that can go wrong than we are by, the gain we might get. So you have to overcome that, right? You have to overcome that to do the scary things. Who doesn't like letting go? Yeah. Who has control issues? Everybody, right? I will say, for many of you, your control issues and your reluctance to let go is what's made you successful thus far. You've held on to the quality and making sure things go well. And Damien, you were just talking about quality control, right? So and to a great extent, that served you well, right? So no wonder you don't want to let it go. But if you don't let it go and you don't let it go successfully, you can't grow, right? Because there's only so much work you can do. There's only so much capacity you've got. So it's going to stop serving you. It's going to stop you growing unless you change things. Who likes their comfort zone? Yeah, right. Yeah, everybody. Who doesn't like letting people down? Is quite afraid of letting people down. Who is a bit inclined to put their head down and plow through work and ignore this stuff a bit? Right? That's the big enemy that I've been talking about, isn't it? I'll just smash through a load of stuff and I'll neglect or defer or ignore this difficult job that I can defer. What happens if you don't do one of the jobs in your strategy? What happens if you come to a group call and you say, I'm going to do this, and then next week you haven't done it? What happens? Nothing happens, does it? But you just do it, it gets pushed back for another week, and you go, I'll do it next week. Right? Nothing happens. You can defer it indefinitely, except that nothing happens. The things you want to happen don't happen, right? So that's procrastination, of course it is, right? Who procrastinates? Everybody? Who prioritizes urgent jobs over important things that are perhaps less urgent, right? So it's not just you that does all those things, right? It's everybody. We all do those things. They're the natural human condition. So we need help to do the stuff that needs doing. We measure progress today because that helps you. If you do something and it makes things a bit better, that reinforces the doingness of it. So you're more likely to do it. So you need to build on this, right? It's like building up a muscle in your body and your ability or your readiness. Sorry, your readiness to do the stuff increases like exercising. So you've got to practice, okay? Your brain resists doing the scary work, but the more that your brain sees that the scary work's having a positive effect, that resistance crumbles a bit. So we'll do the big numbers tracker. That's why we do the momentum snapshot. Okay. We're going to do the big numbers tracker this afternoon. That's why we ask you to record a win and say a win that you've had, right? Or to put you in the space of thinking good things happen if I do the work. Right. So that's what this is about. Okay. We're going to redo this every intensive. Get your sticker, put it on there. When did you join the program? Write that date on a sticker. Stick the sticker where you were on that date in terms of revenue. If you were, I don't think anybody was below 20K. So, you know, you're in a Nemo or a sardine maybe. And if you've got your different ones, right? If you build it, you're bigger. Who wants to tell me what fish they were when they started? Sardine. Anybody online? What were you when you started?
I was a sardine too.
Well, stick it on. Because you're not a sardine anymore, right? So what are you now? Put another date on it. And put where you are now. And if you're still a sardine, because you only just started, you just put one sticker on, right? If you've progressed since then, put a new date and put a new sticker. And then put this somewhere so that you can see it again in the future. Take it home and show the kids or something what fish you are now. All right. I've got a third point. I've given you 3 stickers. Where do you want to be by the end of the year? Why don't you write another date and end of 24 and put that somewhere as a goal sticker. Pick somewhere that's a bit realistic. Okay. And remember, it's monthly revenue with a 10% net profit consistently 3 months in a row. So if you just have a great month 1 month, you know, you haven't really grown the business to that level if you go back to where you were before, right? So we're going to do the big numbers tracker. I'm going to ask you all to get your laptops out and look at your own big numbers tracker now, right? What I'm hoping you do now is actually do a couple of things and get yourself started. Here's a question for you, slightly in relation to what Michelle was just saying. In terms of the big numbers tracker, when 10 is a mark that you give yourself, if it's all up to date and current and you're using it regularly to understand your numbers, and 0 means you've done fuck all with it, where do you rate yourself? I know the answer for everybody. Where do you rate yourself? And they'll do that for you. I know for most of you, it's between a 3 and a 5, right? Lots of you have used the labor tracker to understand the costs of your labor. Not so many of you are using the other tabs in the big numbers tracker. Do you want a copy, guys? Yeah, I'll get you a copy. I'll show you it now and send you a copy later. Okay, so I'm going to overview it now. I'm going to go through it with you now, and I'm going to try and encourage you to start putting the numbers in and actually go through how to put them in and where to find them. So you can go back to your office and give the job to whoever's responsible for it in your business. Maybe it's your VA, maybe it's your bookkeeper, to start doing it, right? So my intentions today with David's help to show you how it works and that it's easier than you might think. I have a feeling a lot of you are a bit intimidated by it because it's a giant fucking spreadsheet, but it's really not that hard, okay? It's a financial dashboard for your business. Once you do have it in place, you feel like you're in control of your numbers much better than you do before you have that, right? So I'm going to quickly go through how each one works, and then I'm going to try and make you actually do it. So if you've got your laptop out, you can actually do a bit, okay? For each one, I'm going to do an overview first, and quickly talk for each one about why it's important, and then I'll talk and how it works and how to fill it in. And I'll, talk about who could do it for you. Obviously, Michelle. So 9 things to track, right? 9 tabs. Well done, John. I'll move that up. So I use the tabs to navigate around here. This is just the cover. The first one's the big numbers, revenue and profit. Now, in all of these sheets, you see the gray squares? Can you see that properly? Shall I make it much bigger? You see the grey squares? Come on, give me some feedback. Thanks. The grey squares are the ones you can write in. Don't write in any other squares. You'll fuck it. Okay? If you fuck it, I'll have to send you a new one. You have to enter all the data in again. So don't do that. So you put in the grey squares, right? So revenue, gross profit, and net profit. If you've set 0 up right, or MYOB up right, and you've got your revenue as your revenue, and your gross profit shows because you've got all your labor as a cost of sale, and all your materials and all your subcontractors as a cost of sale, then that should give the gross profit that we want, right? And I'm saying 30 to 40% for trades and 20 to 30 for builders. If you've done it that way, you should be able to go, is my gross profit 20% of revenue this month? Am I on track? And if you don't set it up like that, it doesn't help you any, does it? That makes sense? So it's your first line of defense, isn't it? This one, when you go, look at this guy, 12,000 in November and only $900 of gross profit, that's less than my 10%, or my 30% rather. Fuck. What have I done? I better go and investigate. Right, so that's really what we're going for here. Draws a pretty graph. We all like a pretty graph, don't we? Right, and you can put a target in here so you can know, you can see if it's gone over your target. It draws a line. So that's just for fun, right? We all like visuals. But the idea is you track your revenue and your profit. Now, I want you to look at this every month, have someone put the data in, look at it once a month, and ask yourself, am I on track where I should be? Do you remember, like Isaac said the other day when he said, and I said, oh, your revenues, your profits, shit. Said, oh, I've got 45K still to invoice, though. Which I haven't done yet because I'm lazy. I'll do it next week, and then I'll be showing a different number, right? They're the kinds of conversations you have to be having with yourself. You know, is revenue and profit where it should be? If it isn't, do I know why? If I know why and it's something that's okay, I won't worry, right? I'll just go back to work. If I don't know why, or it's something bad, at least you've had an early warning. You can go and try and address it. Because you know what your biggest danger is, don't you? Not fucking knowing and keeping it going for 2 and 3 and 4 months and then not being able to pay bills or whatever. So it's an early warning system. A lead indicator, right? Lead indicators tell you what's going to happen. So the big numbers, your profit and loss, they tell you what's happened, don't they? They tell you what happened last month and the month before. Well, this is marketing activity. This tells you what's going to happen, doesn't it? Because I'll guarantee you, if you're not doing much marketing, you're probably going to be quiet. Right? That's John's forecast. No marketing from you, you're going to have some quiet times. So this is a way of tracking your marketing activity, basically making sure you're doing some, right? So I've just got 2 numbers, how much you spend and how many calls you make. If you're doing relationship marketing, it's calls. And if you look at that with somebody, with me or with David or with somebody in your business, and you haven't done any marketing for a month or 2, you know you probably fucking should. And you should really get on it. So it's a way of holding yourself a little bit accountable and not going, oh, I've deferred calling architects or builders for a few weeks, you know, and not realizing that. The quote tracker is also a lead indicator. So what we put in here, we use this like a sales forecast. Any job that you've come across, you put in here. You know, if you're going to quote it or you've quoted it, you put it in here. Let me just slide over. Am I doing this at the right level? Tell me if it's too boring or too much. I know it's a spreadsheet, so I'm very aware. Okay, you can bung a job in here. You can put the estimated value in. You can put this, you can select the stage in the sales process, right? That's opportunity, right? I know there's a job out there for me to have a go at. So I've been on a site visit. I'm quoting it. I'm down to the last 2. I've had a verbal and I've actually got it signed. And it calculates a percentage. So at 1, at the opportunity level, hang on. It says it's 10, it says you're 10% likely to win. If you've had a site visit, you're 20%. If you're quoting, you're 30. If you're down to the final 2, obviously you're 50. If you've had a verbal, you're still only 70% likely to get the money in the bank, aren't you?
Hi, how are
You've
you?
had a verbal and not got the deal.
Can I get a double walnut meal, please?
Thousands, right? So you only get it if you get 100% if you sign it, right? The deal's not over. So it's useful
Yes, please.
to help you keep track of each opportunity.
Roger.
And you go, oh, I haven't called that guy for a bit. Oh, it was, 3 weeks it's been sitting there with quoted. Probably I should call him and ask him if he's read it, right? That kind of thing. So you're accountable for the follow-up type of work.
Thank you.
But also, it calculates these numbers, you know, so you have, it sums up the total amount you've quoted, the weighted value, which is the percentages times the total quoted value. And that's kind of a number. The weighted value is the number you think you're probably going to get. So if you've got a big fat number in there of 10 million, you know, you're feeling quite confident. You're in good shape. If you've got fuck all in there, need to get back to your marketing, don't you? Because there's not much to go on. So this is, if you're looking at those two numbers now, you're suddenly, you know, you're feeling a lot more confident, or a lot less confident if you haven't done the work. You've got more insight into how busy you're going to be. This next one's a KPI tracker. I met a few people who just have certain things they like to track. So I just put it in there for fun, right? I had a guy who'd like to know how many windows he was installing per week. And if it was more than 50, he was happy. And if it wasn't, you know, he was worried. So if you have a KPI like that, you want to crack on. I might track number of clients, for example, but you don't have to use that one. This is our favorite, isn't it? Labor costs. Who likes this one? Yeah, we all like this one, don't we? It's the one everyone uses the most. It changes all the time, and it's the one I use it to help you get your head around whether you're charging enough, right? To help you be brave to go, fuck, I lose money if I don't charge more. Then you can be brave, can't you? So we calculate how much your people are really costing you. You know, if this guy here is $40 an hour and he's employed, he's really costing you $67 an hour for every hour that he's working on a job. If you don't know that horrible increase, you know, you're going to undercharge, aren't you? Don't do that. We calculate our overheads in here. Now, what I say is, actually don't do the last 12 months, forecast out the next 12 months. So how much you're going to pay for accounting and bookkeeping and business coaching and ASIC and all that other shit. Internet and phone, cleaning, cars, marketing, all the things. Importantly, admin staff and some of your wages. You're not always on the tools, are you? So if you're 50% on the tools and 50% in the office, shall we say, you might put half of your pay here and half of your pay in the labor cost calculator. Okay. And then you get down to the bottom. This guy needs to make 212,000 before he makes any money. And you've got to make that from labor and materials, haven't you? That's the only way you get margin into the business to pay that 212K is the margin on your labor and the margin on your materials and your subcontractors. So it brings it home. He's got to do 212K, which is 17,000 a month, 4,000 a week, 850 a day, or $105 an hour before he makes any money. If I do this, right, this is horrible, but I'm going to do it anyway. If we go our cost per charged hour for these guys, has he got 4 or 5? Right? I'll just move you. His average is 45. Do you see that? His average cost per charged hour is 45, and he's got 5 people on the tools. And we looked at the overheads, and it's 105 an hour. It's not quite true like this, but it's kind of $21 an hour each, isn't it? Right? So suddenly, if our $45 an hour of average labor cost, add the 21, he really needs to be charging more than $66 an hour for labor, or he'll never make any money ever. He makes them on materials, so there's a bit of room for maneuver here. But so it's not strictly true, but it's a nice way to think about it, isn't it? Okay, we do a break-even analysis. So this takes the labor cost from over on the other sheet, and it takes the overheads cost from over on the other sheet, and it does a very tricksy little calculation on cost of materials. So you put the percentage there, how much your materials cost is as a percentage of your revenue, which you get from zero, right? Go to your zero or your MYOB, look for last year, take the average for the year, and go, all right, materials normally cost me 30%, 50% of revenue. Bung that in there. And then down here, every week, put in the amount you invoice this week. And what it does is, if you make them all zero, apart from the ones you've started to invoice, it does a magical calculation and estimates what the total materials are going to cost you. So it gets more accurate as you put more numbers in, right? And then it calculates it, you know, you've got to make 2,800 a day, or 13,000 a week, or 58,000 a month, right? Or 704,000 a year before you make any profit. That's where you break even. So every week, Now then you put your weekly break even amount, 13,556 in here. 13,556. It draws a little line for you. And every week when you put in how much you've invoiced, it tells you if it was more or less than the line. And you can go, we made money this week. We didn't make money this week. We made money this week, right? You can keep an eye on it at that level. Bearing in mind, someone else should be doing this for you, right? Michelle should be doing this for you, right? But is that good to know? Do you think that shit's good to know? You know when you normally find out that you're not making any money, don't you? When you've lost it, yeah. When the accountant says something like, no tax for you to pay this year, sonny. You didn't make any money. So we don't want that, right? We want to be making the money and counting it. There's only two more, right? The jobs analysis and the cash flow forecast. So the jobs analysis is something probably not for Michelle's team, but probably for your VA to help you do, right? It's in your job management system. And they should be looking at profitability on every job. Who was talking about this earlier? You guys, Tim was. Right? You're doing it in your job management system, right? And pulling it out into a spreadsheet and sharing it. So I've made this little tool. It's just two sets of columns, the amount you've quoted on a job. So when you do a quote, you've got an allowance for materials and allowance for labor, haven't you? And if you haven't, you can leave those blank, and you can, but you need to put the amount you think is margin in. You know how much you think is margin, don't you? You do, don't you? You're all quiet. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we're pretty confident how much margin we're making when we do our quotes. We know we're aiming for a 30%. If you don't, right, you need to have a look at your pricing system, don't you, and figure that one out, because you ought to know. You need to know. So you're putting that in here, right? You're going, all right, we've quoted 10 grand. It's 100 hours of labor, 44 bucks an hour, and 2 grand of materials. So it tells you you're going to make 3,600 bucks of profit. And what's that? 36%. And then when you do the analysis at the end of the job, when you actually see how many labor hours were done and how much you spent on materials, I want you to compare the quote to what really happened in real life, right? Because the worst thing you want to do is do a quote and think everything's fine and then realize down at the end of the year you didn't make the money you thought and your quoting system was shit. So you need to make sure your quoting or your estimating is working right, or your guys are taking the right amount of time to do the work. So this is that loop closing thing, right? So that this job, they only invoiced 9,000, didn't take as many labor hours, but they spent loads on materials and they lost money. And it talks about the difference, and you can write some comments in. Because what we're looking for here is systemic issues, right? Stuff you're doing wrong all the time. If you go, oh, you know, like Brody did with his 15%, I made a fuck up. What are you going to do about that? You're probably going to put something in place to check that you haven't fucked that up, right? Or have a third party check for you, because you can get blind to the mistakes you make, can't you? To maybe get someone else to run their eye over your quotes before you send off the big ones. Right, so that kind of thing, right? So that's the jobs analysis tool. Making sense? Cash flow forecast. It's a forecast, right? You put in what your revenue you think is going to be. And I've got revenue 1 and revenue 2. And if you're doing larger jobs, you can put the job name in there and the progress payments in the different months, right? And if you're doing lots of small jobs, you're going to have to estimate what your revenue is going to be. And you can do the same with the cost of sales, you know. If you know that for the Smith job, you put the Smith job, and you know that you're going to have carpentry bill in May and a plumbing bill in June, etc., you can put all those progress payments in from your sub-trades too, right? Or you can put your labor in there and your materials expenses that you think you're going to have. So you can forecast out your revenue at quite a granular level. I know it's a ball ache. Honestly, it's worth doing. And you can bung all your expense items in there. We've got an including GST one and an excluding GST. You can put your wages in there by the different employees and once-off expenses. It will calculate the GST you need to allow for, so you know how much GST to put in a bank account for when the BAS comes. It will calculate how much tax you have to accrue for PAYG and things. And it will tell you your net cash flow every month. If you have too many negative net cash flow months, you're going to worry, aren't you? So again, it's about being warned in advance if things aren't going to be very good for you. This is the one Michelle uses to tell me I can't afford a car. Unfortunately. right? So they're the tabs. Does that make sense? So I've talked through that, which is lovely. Who is using it properly? Yeah, nobody. I know nobody is. I already know the answer to this one. Who would like to be using it somewhat better? Who are you going to get to do it? This is an exercise. Write down who you're going to give this job to and go, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to delegate it to that person, right? It's going to be a real simple process. There's a video in the tradies toolbox. Give them your logins. Watch the video. Say, watch the video. I want you to do that, please. Come back to me with your problems when you've watched the video. Right, this is the... Sorry? There might be, yeah. So there's instructions, right? You know, if you want Michelle's team to do it for you, obviously there's an option there. But if you've got somebody in your business who does your numbers for you, ask them to do it. No, this is not very difficult stuff, right? Filling out the big numbers tracker is, you know, a process-driven job. Once somebody's learned how to do it, they just have to set the time aside, do it once a month, come and show it to you so you can satisfy yourself that you're not in the shit. Right? And if you are in the shit, you can take some action. You can come to me and go, fucking hell, John, bad things seem to be happening. Right? That's really what we're here for, isn't it? That's what we want to do, right? Get early warning, stop the problems before they become really expensive. So, revenue and profit straight from the P&L as soon as the month is finished, right? It's easy. Is it set up right so that the gross profit reflects properly? If it's not, get that changed. It's not very hard. There's a video. There's always a video. Lead indicator, the marketing. Who's going to do that for you? Who's going to record how much marketing activity there is? If it's you doing the calls for the relationship marketing, how are you going to record it? There's a tool, right? There's a thing called a today tomorrow report, which is basically a thing with dates on it, and you do a little tally chart and then add up how many calls you made. Keep one by the phone or something, or use your phone at the end of the day and see how many calls you made out. Think about, you know, I'm not interested in how many calls you made to tradies, how many calls you made to architects or designers or builders or whoever your relationship marketing target is. It's really shocking doing this, right? It's really confronting, because what happens is a week goes by and you realize you didn't make any. Right? And you've spent all week in the weeds of the business, not doing anything about marketing. And then you'll hear me in your ear going, well, you're going to be broke. Right? And you'll think, fuck, I don't want him to be right. Right? So this is important shit, right? So that's probably you having to do the marketing stuff. Who's going to do the quote tracker? Come on. Help me out. You should, yeah. It's got to be you, hasn't it? Unless you've got salespeople, in which case they do one, and you can be their sales manager, and you can make them show you their quote tracker every week and tell you where they're up to and what they're doing and how much money they're going to make you. But if you're the salesman, you have to do it. If there's more than one of you in the business, have a meeting about it and go through it together. When I was a salesperson, a very young salesperson, I used to do this every Monday with my boss, and he'd make me go through every deal. He'd go, where's that one at? I thought you were going to ring him last week. And I'd be like, no, I didn't. Right? Yeah, you know how it goes, Richard. I'd feel like a chump because I told him I was going to call the guy and I hadn't, because I probably was going to get bad news. So then I'd have to call him, right? But it brought some accountability in. And it helps, right? It helps to do this and look at it and go, what am I going to do to see if I can push this deal along its sales process? Sometimes you can't, right? Sometimes the customers say, leave us alone. But sometimes you can, your decision is, I'll ring them and set a meeting or do something, right? So there you're on you, right? Those two. I don't care about the KPI one. If you like that, do it. For the labor costs, obviously you need to update it whenever anything changes, whenever somebody leaves or somebody joins or you give a pay rise to somebody. This is one of your challenges, I think, is that creep of pay increases. People want pay rises all the time, don't they? They're always coming to you, with a print off from Seek, somebody who's offering more than you're paying or something. So you're always responding to those kinds of situations, and you must remember to update your thing so that you don't find you're not making money anymore. The overheads, who's going to do that? Someone could do that. Your bookkeeper or your admin person should be doing that for you. Same with the cash flow forecast, same with the jobs analysis, same with the break-even analysis. So I reckon those four are jobs you should give to someone else and have them report to you so that you're abreast of the situation. Fair? Have you all taken a note of who you're going to give this job to? You know I'm going to ask you next week, don't you? When we speak next week. Who's doing your big numbers tracker? Have you done it? Or did you just go home and forget all about it? Matt, who's going to do yours? I know the answer. Sheila. Yeah. Good. Yep. Good answer. I can rely on Matt. He's good with the answers. That you took away all my little points there, Matt. All right, let's have a quick break. Anybody got any questions on the big numbers tracker? All that information, all that training is in there. So I've whizzed through it quickly, right? My hope for you is you take the job down and you dish it out to somebody as a job and you get the information every month so that you're on top of your numbers. Who gave themselves higher than a 5? Nobody did they? Nobody should. Right, you've got people in your organization now. Delegate it. All right, I'll shut up now. At 3 o'clock, I've got 20 minutes or half an hour to go. Do you want to break first? Or shall I continue? Smash through to the end? Okay, the planning one. Do you want to go? Yeah. All right. Okay. I don't think so, except join in with this and help people do things. I'll try and make this more exercising. Okay, should we move on? You ready? So this is the last one, the next quarter planning session. So it's a very simple session, right? We started this morning, we looked at what's going well, what you've achieved, what wins you've had, what's not going so well. You set yourself a couple of little goals for the next little period, didn't you? What you'd like to achieve. Now you've got to decide what you've got to do. So we don't have to spend very long here, okay? This is something I wrote. No plan survives contact with the enemy. When I was writing this, I wrote that it was General George Patton. And then when I looked it up, it wasn't him at all. It was a German field marshal. And he said, no plan of operations extends with certainty beyond the first encounter with the enemy's main strength. Okay. The gist of it means, as Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? And the thing it means that you go in there all brave and full of, vim and vigor, and then something happens and everything changes, right? You've been punched in the mouth, or the enemy's done something, and now your plan, well, not shit, might have to change a bit, right? So what we need to do, we've all got a plan. We need to keep adjusting it to reflect the current situation. You've done some stuff since last time, hopefully, right? So we need to adjust your plan according to what happened, according to the work you've done or how the situation's changed. Now, probably what we're going to do is not so much adjust the plan, because the plan's very much a framework, isn't it? We're probably going to adjust what your priorities are, what you need to do next. So that's really what I'm looking for here. A big part of me wants you to go to look at your strategy, the one you've written at the beginning of your coaching program, and go, yeah, is this all still valid, or do I need to change any of the things in it? And if it's all still valid, what should I be working on next? Should it still be what I was supposed to be working on last quarter but didn't? Or is it still doing the things I haven't finished in the last quarter? Or should I be doing a new thing? Okay? And we've got a little place called your right next thing. I've left you 3 spaces, okay? Mostly because I think if you have more than 3, that's a bit overwhelming. So try and focus yourself on 3. Because they're quite big projects, right? If you're hiring another person or hiring a VA, you're going to put a lot of energy and effort in. You can't do 3 or 4 things like that. You're going to take time, right? So for the next little while, limit yourself. You've got 25 or 30 things in your strategy. What 3 are you going to do this next 3 months? If you've got loads of capacity and you've got loads of people you can offload work to, sure, do more. But for most of you, do a small number. Okay? Now, we also have some help here with our roadmaps. Okay, so what you can do is you can look at your strategy. Can I have a roadmap? You can look at your strategy. Oh dear. Sorry, Emily. I didn't use your slides very well, did I? Right. You can look at your strategy and you can look at your roadmaps. My intention with the roadmap, right? The roadmaps are very closely aligned with what's in your strategy, right? You should be doing all the bottom level before you start putting too much effort into things in the middle level and the top level. Okay? It's like foundations on a house. Do the bottom ones first. So if you haven't done your marketing groundwork and you haven't got yourself clear on what you do and why you're good and who you do it for, go and do that. Get that clear. Because that's how you're going to write a good website. That's how you're going to know what to say when you start ringing architects or builders or whoever. Okay? So think like that, right? Think in terms of what should you be doing next? What do you need? What did you say this morning that you needed? Do you need money? Do you need to build capacity? Do you need more tradespeople? Do you need more admin support? Do you need a VA? Like, what's your next constraint? Actually, I was going to suggest we do a constraints exercise. We did that earlier, didn't we? Never mind that. We did that earlier. Okay, what were your constraints? What's holding you back at the moment? Do you want to say? Do you want to all put your hand up and say, I think my constraint is this?
Staff.
Go on, somebody volunteer me something. What's a constraint that you'd like to address in the next 3 months? What's a thing that you'd like to fix? Yeah, Matt. Okay. Would you want to write that down as one of your next right things? And like, I won't try and do it now. I won't try and solve it now. But that's your thing, right? If you're not finding the time and you know you need to spend the time, that's one of your jobs. Who else?
Hey, John.
Back there? You smiled, so you have to answer now.
One's to hire more people.
Tradies?
Yeah, got the work.
Yeah.
And probably another big thing is do book work.
Have you spoken to them? Have you spoken to Tom about getting a VA? That was a little setup, wasn't it, really? I don't know. Can you all hear okay online, guys? Yeah, can you hear okay?
No.
You can't hear. Can you hear me?
We can.
You can hear me, but not those guys.
Yeah.
Did the thing run out of battery again? Well, let's go online. Who on Zoom has got a constraint you could share that you'd like to address?
Go to John. Paul here. Can you hear me?
Feeling brave.
Can you hear me, John?
We can't hear Paul either. I can see him trying to
This
talk.
one too.
I can hear you, Paul. It's Brody.
Hey, Brody.
Talk now, Paul.
You can hear me, John?
Okay, we can't hear them either.
You can hear me online.
Has it muted him? Did I do something? Okay.
Testing.
I'm
testing.
sorry, Paul. We can't hear you. I can't. There's no point me inviting you to talk because we can't hear.
Brady can hear me. Hey, Brady.
You can type into chat.
Go ahead.
It went so well for most of the
Hey.
day, didn't it?
My constraint is
I'm
John's
not sure what's
IT
going on
knowledge.
either. Isaac's gone. Thanks, Mike. Okay. Well, maybe we won't do this. You're going to have to write it down. You can type it into the chat for me, a constraint or something you want to do. I'm looking at you two, obviously. You look attentive. What have you got on your mind? I think that's crucial, isn't it? If you can do one thing every week, you'll make massive progress. Then yours is to ditch that customer, surely.
Yeah. Build more systems for the VA.
And build more systems for the VR. There's two. That's probably enough for you, right? That's the second one's a big one, right? The first one won't take very long. Just take a bit of working up to be brave. Well. Yeah.
I think I'm always at the office trying to do all the marketing and all the
Yeah.
media. So it's, time that I have the time. I think being able to use even freelancers, where I don't have to commit to doing a blog post or doing,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and they do. They really do, Look at the guys who've said they've been using a bookkeeper and how much time that's freed up or how much more in control, right? You have your books in good shape and it's great for you, isn't it? Thanks, Mel. All right. Have you all got one or two or three things for the next quarter? Can we hear the guys online yet? Anybody want to speak to us?
Hello?
Go on, Paul. See if you can talk. You come off mute. No.
Sorry, I was just tricking.
No,
John,
we can't hear you.
While you're just trying to work the sound out, can you hear me now? Is that okay?
We can hear David.
Yep, testing. Yeah, great. Hey guys, while John's just sorting that out, I just wanted to talk to you, and I think it's very much aligned about mindset. Okay, so if you've got a mindset of a small business, and I love the stories, I hope you like them, but have you ever seen an elephant at a circus? I know you don't see too many of them now, but how do they secure an elephant? They tie a rope around one of its legs, don't they? And they put a stake into the ground, a peg. How strong is an elephant? It's very strong. Could it pull that peg out?
Yes.
Easily. So why doesn't it? What happens is that when an elephant's very young, they tie a very thick, strong rope around its leg and they tie it round to a great big tree. And so the little baby elephant tugs and tugs and tugs at this stake or this rope to try to break it free. But the elephant can't because it's only a small little elephant. It's not very strong. But in its mind, its mindset registers that if I've got a rope tied around my leg and it's attached to something, I can't break it. I can't break free. And so as the elephant grows, it still has the same mindset. The moment that the rope's tied to one leg, it realizes, or it thinks it realizes that, oh, I can't break it because I've tried and it didn't work. How many times have we said in our business exactly that statement? I've tried and it didn't work. And maybe it didn't. It might not have been the right time. We mightn't have done it correctly. We might not have, it might not have been the right environment at the time. So when John talks about the big numbers tracker and looking at our costs and increasing our prices, I bet in your own head, you say this, you say, oh yeah, I know that, but it wouldn't work in my business. How many people said that? I have. And we don't ever try it. We're like that elephant with that rope tied around our legs as a little baby elephant. We don't think that we break it. We don't think we can put our prices up. We don't think that we can sit there and use the big numbers tracker to drive profitability into our business because maybe our business is too small. Or we say to ourselves, oh, it wouldn't work in our business because our business is different. You're like that baby elephant. And when you grow bigger, you're like that big elephant. You're bound by the perception that it wouldn't be right for you. So what I'd like to do, and John challenges you all the time, to have a go, to step outside, to break that rope that's holding you in place and start to change your mindset so that you can start to look at having a bigger business. The numbers that John read out. Do you think the people that were able to achieve, a $1, a $2, a $3, a $9 million turnover, where did they start? They started down here, didn't they? And through the right mindset, they've grown. And mindset is developed by a lot of things. It's the way we think about ourselves, our own confidence, our own attitude towards our own self and our ability. The confidence that we have in the products and services that we deliver. It even is formed by the people that we associate with. Now, this is a bit of a tough one to touch on, but if you go out and play golf or go fishing or whatever activity you like to do with a few mates that are all wage earners, do you think they think the same way as you when it comes to business?
No.
They don't, do they? So it's okay to have mates from all sorts of backgrounds and do things with different people. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but what I'm saying to you is that you need to listen to what's coming into your mind. Now you imagine your brain is a great big bucket, a steel bucket, okay? And every time someone says something negative to you or says something that is a different mindset to you, it's like a cup of cold water going into that bucket. And pretty soon, if you get enough of those comments or those feelings or emotions, what happens to your bucket? It's full, isn't it? I want you to imagine now picking up a big handful of positive gravel, of positive mindset, and putting it into the bucket, that full bucket. What will happen to the water? The cold, negative water. It'll displace it, won't it? And you pick up another handful of gravel and another one, and each time that negative mindset is washed out until what have you got left?
Gravel.
A bucket full of gravel. Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of cold negative stuff in there. We all doubt ourselves, don't we, from time to time?
Mm.
But if we're able to displace most of that cold negativeness, then we've got a very positive mindset that will drive our business forward. So think about the environments that you're in. Who's heard the term fake it until you make it? Yeah, we've all done that.
Yeah.
So maybe every now and again, treat yourself to a 5-star experience. Go to a restaurant where you get really top service and really good quality and taste the luxury of success.
Are you saying I should buy that car?
Yeah, I am. Is Michelle gone?
He is, isn't he?
Yeah. Go and book yourself into the Marriott or somewhere like that and have a 5-star experience. And when you're there, sit there and just take it all in and make the decision that this wants to be your norm. Maybe it's not a hotel, maybe it's not a restaurant, might be a new set of golf clubs or some more fishing tackle or a bigger boat or
a car, an MX-5,
car, yeah,
a red
exactly,
MX-5.
Yeah. So taste that success, taste that feeling, and then go out and fake it until you make it. Now, I'm not saying race out and spend lots of money on luxury items, but what I'm saying is that start to think about the mindset. You, each one of you, deserve to have that to you. You deserve to have the car that you want, or that accommodation that you want, or an overseas trip or a holiday, more time with your kids, a bit of time to yourself to go fishing. Each one of you deserve that. But you've got to start by getting your mindset right, because that's the most important thing. Listen to some audio books, read some books, go and talk to people that are successful. Try to get yourself a mentor. Listen to John. That's what you're paying him for.
Do what I say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So hopefully that's a bit interesting for you. But I've done it. Oh, that wouldn't work in my business. Oh, I couldn't put my price up 5%. Or, oh, gee, I could make a phone call, but they're probably going to say no. Yeah, who's done that? I think every one of us at one stage has done that.
Yeah.
Try to push through that. Is it frightening? Yes. Is it confronting? Hell yes. Okay, but do we want the prize at the end? We want the success? Do we want one of these magnificent trophies in 3 months' time? Hey, that's what we're after. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Well, on that note, how's your mindset? Are you feeling a bit emboldened? Have you made 3 things in your list of right next things? Have you got 3 things to do over the next 3 months that you can share with me and David and make the focus of your next 3 months? They can be the same 3 as last month if that's the appropriate, but have you got 3? Can I have some thumbs ups? Yeah. Everybody's got 3. You're not exempt. You have to have 3 as well. Right. We'll do one more. In the book is an impact filter. For each of you 3, you need to make an impact filter, right? And you see your quarter plan here. I've got you 3 things. The name of the thing, the name of the task or the job, who's going to do it, and has an impact filter being done. Okay? So write the name of the project, whether it's putting the price up, what did you say? More systems for the VA, and ditching the client, or dealing with that issue. Let's do that. Let's pick on that one, Ben. Do you mind? So we'll do an impact filter for Ben's issue, right? So Ben has a client who gives him $500,000 worth of work a year. It's just labor hire. It's not very good margin. And he says it's actually costing him money. And it's 1/3 of your turnover, a bit more. So project name. Fix the customer. What's the customer called?
First choice. First choice.
First choice. Fix first choice. Let's call it fix first choice. Because either you charge more and make just better margin, or you fuck them off, right? They're really the options, aren't they? They both work. If you charge more and make money on them, you're not so upset by it. So, okay. So what's the problem we're solving? We lose money on every job that we do for first choice.
Yep.
Right? What difference will it make if you fix it? Yeah, write that down. That's fair. Got to replace it with something. What else will it do? Stop you losing money.
Yep.
We'll probably free up capacity to do, more highly paid. You were saying just before you've got half of it already kind of replaced, right? With opportunity that you think you can get. So actually, it will probably shift profitability and cash flow quite significantly, right? So write that, because the writing down is quite important, right? Write it down, because you write it down and then you look at it and you go, oh, it's real. It's not. It actually concretes things in your mind. So write it down. It will free up. It will probably free up money. It will probably free up cash flow. It will make me more profitable. Okay, the outcome. What does done look like? I think. Yeah, no. In terms of first choice. So either it looks like 1, you don't work for them anymore, or 2, you're charging more and it's profitable work. Right? I think and you haven't made the choice yet, right? You'll decide. Okay. So then, what are the big chunks? I think 1 is to do the maths and figure out what you need to charge. 2 is to decide if you really want them or you really would rather fuck them off. Because you can steer that conversation, can't you, yourself? I think another one is get some more work in, so that if they say no, you can go, nah. You're halfway down that path.
Yeah.
So, and I think another one is to decide when you pull the pin. Because what seems likely is they let you squeeze the price up a bit, and it remains kind of marginal, right? That's likely, isn't it? They let you squeeze it up a bit, you feel a bit better, and in 3 months' time you're going, it's still shit though. I don't really want it. right? Which might be fine. That might be a reasonable outcome because it gives you time to build up other business before you get dropped in a hole. So that might be all right. But at some point, you're going to have to decide when you go, right? And it might be when you've got a certain amount of additional revenue coming in. So that's your next piece, isn't it? Okay. So what are your first three? What are you going to do first?
I've got the numbers up front, so
Yeah.
gauging other numbers to build that for you. The last step will be meeting them. I think that decide they'll come to the same price and get
Or whether you sneak away. Well, there you go. That's an impact filter. How does that feel? Feels all right, doesn't it? And I kind of pushed it along because you'd already given me half of the answers. So I was cheating a bit. All right. Do you feel like you can do an impact filter for your three, everybody? Guys online? Does anybody want to volunteer another one and we'll do another one together? Matt Russell Jones knows I'm going to pick on him in a minute. Should we pick on Matt? What was yours, Matt? Make more time for this work. Okay, do you want to write that as a project name on an impact filter? What problem are we solving?
It's just having lack of time and dodging all this kind of work and not
Well,
investing.
so the problem, if you make the time, is not wasting the money.
Yeah.
And not getting and you will get the progress that you want, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What difference will that make if you solve this problem and you make time for this work? What impact will it have?
Well, I think I'll have better systems, better management systems with my employees as well. I think, quality assurance on site will be better as well. Streamlined work. I think can target into better quality clients
jobs
as well.
Yeah.
Better jobs, target more architects as opposed to mum and dad clients.
Okay. What's done look like then? Bearing in mind, we're just talking about the time that you spend on this kind of work.
Yeah. Well, what done looks like for me would be 2.5 days a week spent on the business and small fish stuff.
Okay.
Business development.
Good. That's a good outcome. That's a good answer. How are you going to do it? Well, there's a couple of things, right? If we said, remember what I said this morning, there's two ways to do it. One way is to go, all right, 2.5 days. I'm going to do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning on this. I'm going to not be on site. I'm going to turn my phone off. I'm going to leave the boys and tell them to fuck right off and not call me. And that, and that's it, right? I'll be in the office doing this work.
Yeah.
Which is challenging, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I need more help where like VA may be able to assist in that space as well.
Okay. Well, there's another chunk, right? Is offload. You can put that in. You could put boundaries around this work, and you could put another one in that says, get more admin support, consider a VA.
Yeah.
What else could you do? Is there any more work you could give to Sheila?
Yeah, I can definitely. Yeah, I've got a bit of a pipeline to feed out to.
There you go. There's number 3, right? Give the list of jobs to Sheila and delegate more to her.
Yeah, and the guys on site as well too. I want to train up another foreman to replace the one that just resigned as well. So
there you go. There's your 4. There's 4 things to do. Comes together quite quick, doesn't it? Once you think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well done. Anybody else? Have you got your 3 things you're going to do? Okay, I'm going to finish this up, right? That's the end of the planning session. If you've got 3 things and you've got some clarity, crack on. And obviously, if you don't have clarity and you need a bit of help, what are you going to do? Yes, you can have a stubby holder for that, Ben. You can book a 20, right? If you need help deciding what your 3 main things are, or you need help doing an impact filter, or you need help with any of it, book a 20. David and I will help you.